Okay, so good morning, class. We are with your module 1 discussion. Okay, so you can repeat this recorded discussion if needed, especially when you are answering the scientific method in your laboratory work. Okay, so let's start with the objectives. So these are the objectives of your module 1. Okay. By the end of this module, the learner should be able to first is to identify the famous chemists in the field of chemistry. That is the reason why at the introduction of in the overview of your chemistry, there are different famous scientific chemists na nilagay ko doon. Okay. The second one is to recognize the 5 main branches of chemistry. So there are 5 branches of your chemistry. So these are your organic, inorganic, physical, analytical, then the other one is under the biochemistry. Okay, number 3 is contrast pure research and applied research in chemistry. So what's the difference between pure research and applied research? But this one, it is about the basic research. Okay, so when you say basic research, it is uh, about pure knowledge, and when you say applied research, it is about the application of that knowledge. Okay, so para siyang combination with your scientific method. Okay? So just wait kasi I am um, um, so pinalitan ko ito ng small. And this one is peer research. This is basic research. Okay, number 4 is to apply scientific methods to chemistry. That is the reason why that your laboratory one is under the applying scientific methods in the real situation. Okay, so let us first discuss what is how important is chemistry. So if you notice, here is the presence of paper, then the clothes, all of this, the soap are made up of chemicals. So all of this are made up of chemicals. So like for example, here in the example, so it is not included in your module 1. So look at this. Okay, so nagbabrush siya ng kanyang teeth. Okay, so nagbabrush siya ng teeth niya. And this, why is it necessarily to brush your teeth? Diba? Because of that fluoride na content doon sa inyong toothpaste. Okay, why are you brushing your brush? Your toothbrush is made up of plastic and nylon. So, meron ding stages kasi the ang toothbrush, kung papansinin niyo, when you are in supermarket, meron siyang soft and meron siyang hard. Kasi sensitive yung gums nung bata i-compare sa adult. That is the reason why that is how important is chemicals or chemistry in our daily life. Okay, how about when you say the content of your toothpaste? So your toothpaste are made up of fluoride. So yung fluoride na yon, which is a kind of an element that fight against tooth decay. That is the reason why it is necessarily for you to brush your teeth. Okay, sa mga lumang tugtugin, yung mga superstitious belief, kasi hindi pa uso yung toothpaste noon, they are using salt. Okay, the calcium, the carbon helps remove plaques. So ito yun yung mga content na makikita lamang sa toothpaste. Okay, so ano yung masasabi mo about the chemists? So they are called as the scientists that they are focusing about the chemicals na ginagamit in our daily life. Here, so there are different branches of chemistry. So as I have said, these are organic, inorganic, analytical, biochemistry, and then the physical. So what's the difference between organic and inorganic? So based on this picture, your organic, di ba yung inyong lesson or yung inyong topic is about general chemistry with organic chemistry, which means that the biomolecules are included in your subject. Why? Because biomolecules are made up of carbon and hydrogen. So here, if you notice, there presence of carbon and hydrogen. So that is the reason why that organic is about hydrocarbons. So pag labas na siya doon, wala ng CH, that is inorganic. Okay? So when you say inorganic, so for example, salt. Diba salt is NaCl. So walang content na carbon and then the hydrogen. Later, makikita nyo yung examples on how you distinguish between organic and inorganic chemistry. So look at this. When you say organic chemistry, this is a branch of chemistry that studies life and organic carbon compound. So which means na meron siyang made up of carbon and hydrogen. Okay, so like for example here, diba, with um, with the structure of your organic chemistry. So there is a presence of your carbon and hydrogen. Okay, so how about when you say inorganic compound? So when you say inorganic chemistry, okay, wait class. So it is about the study of compounds, like for example, NaCl. Di siya pwedeng matawag class na compound pag wala siyang component. So like for example, carbon. Pag carbon lang, that's an element. Okay, but when you say compound, is a combination of two or more elements. So like for example, here is that sodium bromide, okay, hypobromite. Here is that a combination or with your sodium bromide and then the oxygen. Okay, so kaya tinawag siyang compounds. At yung compounds na yan, okay, ay wala siyang presence of carbon and hydrogen. Okay, so look at this, the formula. So wala silang carbon and hydrogen, kaya ma-distinguish mo siya under the inorganic chemistry. Analytical chemistry, when you say analytical chemistry, it is a study of separation, identification, and quantification of the chemical components of natural and artificial materials. So the artificial materials kasi, ito yung mga content na nade-develop ng mga chemists. So it is either quantitative or qualitative. What's the difference between quantitative and qualitative? If you recall with your previous lesson during your senior high, is that when you say qualitative, it is about the quality without the presence of numerical data, at yun ang difference with your quantitative. So, kadalasan, ginagamit to analyze the data. So, like for example, meron kayong, meron kayong graph. Diba? You have to analyze it, and they are using either qualitative or quantitative determination. Kaya yung mga police, ginagamit nila yung mga, merong exact term doon. Okay, the fingerprints. Okay, so they are using analytical chemistry. When you say physical chemistry, naalala niyo yung lesson you with your previous lesson during your senior high about the physical science. It's a combination of your chemistry and your physics. So pag sinabing chemistry and physics, both science and math. So there's a lot of physics and math to study the changes in energy. Okay, it is about the interaction of molecules with radiation, the calculation of structures and properties. So this is a combination of science and math. Okay, when you say biochemistry, it is a branch of chemistry and biological processes of all living organisms. So which means it's a combination about the life, bio means life, but it is about a branch of chemistry that, aside from it is not only about it is a living things, but also with a combination of compounds under the chemistry. Okay, so this is about to include what will be the therapy. It is not a therapy, a medicine for cancer, or using of stem cell biology, infectious diseases, and cell membrane and structural biology, which means it is not a pure chemistry, but a combination of living organisms and then chemistry or elements or the properties or compounds that is being used to cure a disease. Okay. How about, what's the difference between your basic research and applied research? Okay, when you say basic research, so this is basic. Okay, used to help expand knowledge exists. So which means na it is not only about okay, it is not only about a pure knowledge. Okay, but when you say basic research is to, you have to expand the knowledge. So parang example doon yung mga RL na ginagawa nyo, di ba? May mga theories kayong inilalagay with your research. And when you say applied research, it gives a solution to the problem. Kasi when you are doing scientific method, you have to identify first the problem to give a solution. So it is not only when you are doing a research studies, di ba? When you are doing your research, hindi lamang kayo naka-base doon with the theories, but you find, you want to prove if this theory is true or not. Okay, so this is the difference between your basic research and then the other one, which is what you call the applied research. Okay. Okay, let us first tackle about basic research. Okay, so when you say basic research, Okay, this helps to improve the level of understanding. Di ba? Naintindihan mo lang. But also, you have to involve to describe or to explain the reason of how, what, and why. That is the reason why on the first part of your scientific method, in analyzing or identifying the problem, di ba? It based on your observation, di ba? Gumagawa kayo ng mga bagay, it is to level up your level of understanding. You ask questions, you are using questionnaires, di ba? By answering this how, what, and why to formulate your hypothesis. The information came from this basic research foundation used for applied studies. Okay, so pag nakakuha na kayo or nakagather na kayo ng information, you have to apply this into an applied research, which means kailangan mo ng data to prove that this problem can be solved through your data. But dapat ito ay ang inyong problem is dito kayo maka-formulate ng inyong hypothesis. Okay, later malalaman natin. Examples of basic research. A study on how alcohol consumption affects the brain. So you are only your alcohol, the alcohol content kung napapansin nyo, di ba, pag umiinom ang isang tao, anong napapansin nyo? Palugay-lugay ang kanyang paglalakad. So sa human anatomy, malalaman nyo under the nervous system. Okay? Because there is an effect in your hypothalamus, okay? It is a part of your brain. The reason why that ika or your legs, which is a part of your extremities, ay nagkakaroon ng problema. Okay? A study to find constituents to make human DNA. So it's about the gathering the information to prove. Okay? You have to level up your level of understanding on how about the process or what will be the importance of this DNA. A study of stress level. Diba? Ano ba ang nakapagpa-aggressive sa'yo? Like for example, the adrenaline rush. Diba? Pag nagtatanong si teacher nyo, okay, you need a content or you need yung stock knowledge nyo ay you becomes aggressive. Okay, during the level of stress because of the release of that hormones. Okay, that is under the basic research. The study of gender stereotypes edge to depression. Okay, so kung ang cause ba yung gender, ang gender ba ay nakakaapekto sa depression ng tao. This is how it is sabi niya, it involves on how to explain the fact using the questions which are how, what, and why. A study about causative factors and lead to cancer. What will be the cause? The causative agent. Okay, so like for example, nagkasakit ka ng pneumonia. Ano ba yung cause ng pneumonia? And that is under the basic research kasi you need an information, okay, to level up your level of understanding. Okay, what are the benefits of this conducting a basic research? So able to understand living systems and the process of living. Giving foundations for applied research, as I have said. So ito yung foundation nyo kasi it is based on the full of knowledge, lead to advances in the field of medicine. Okay, so like for example, ang case is about the case na gusto mo pag-aralan yung bagong pagbukas ng viruses sa atin about the COVID. Diba? First pa lang, before they applied into a laboratory, nung hindi pa na-discover yung vaccine, okay, gumamit muna sila ng basic research, full of knowledge. They gain knowledge came from the research, came from the internet, came from the books. Diba? Pinag-aaralan nyo ng mga scientists because they want to solve the problem. Okay, this gives a foundation for applied research. Kasi pag nakita nila yung cause, for example, the host ay tayo, yung tao, hindi naman papasok ang virus pag wala siyang mode of entry. Okay, on the first base ng paglabas ng COVID, mabilis mamatay ang tao, mabilis lumala, at yun ang kanilang ginamitan. The basic research or yung knowledge na nakuha nila doon ay ginamitan nila ng applied research. Okay, what is applied research? So this examines looking to find practical solutions to what the problem exists. Ibig sabihin, isosolve mo yun ang problema. Kasi di ba the first one is to identify the problem. This type of research using empirical methodologies like experiment. Di ba when you're saying the first chapter is about the purpose of your study, may mga terminologies kayo, mga theoretical frameworks na ginagamit, right tracing. And then now, in your methodologies, ano yung methods? If you notice with your experiment, you're doing your procedure. Okay, pag nag-experiment lang kayo, gumagawa kayo ng procedure. Diba? Later, malalaman natin yung sinasabing procedure using your scientific method. Okay, there are three types of applied research. So these are your action or evaluation, research, and development. So pwede nyo pwede nyo i-Google Class or pwede kayo mag-YouTube. Okay, so this is nagsama-sama kasi yun yung sinasabing applied research because it helps businesses and gives practical solutions to the problems through guiding them. Okay, the research of analyze, the evaluating information. So di ba, when you are using your applied research, di ba meron kayong data na ginagawa? You're analyzing that, for example, for businesses, bakit nalugi yung company? They need an application. Kasi why? Gumamit sila ng survey. Baka yung, ang problema is that the location, kung bakit hindi pinupuntahan ng tao, okay, they are doing your applied research, they are using the questionnaire, okay? Ano pa ba? Baka yung pagkain na yon ay hindi na mabebenta sa lugar na yon. So like for example, sa tindahan, di ba sa tindahan, tinitingnan nila yan kung ano yung part doon na mabenta. So, kadalasan na mabenta ay junk foods. Papiso-piso man yan, pero kumikita sila doon every day. So, ang gagawin ng tindera, yun ang kanilang laging ibinebenta. Kahit malalaman mo man na masama yung sa katawan. Why? Because that's a part of being a businessman or sa business. Okay? So, kung ano yung mabenta, yun ang dapat mo ibebenta. Huwag mong pairalin kung ano yung dapat. The most important is to attract the customers. Examples of your applied research, a study of improving illiteracy among teenagers. Bakit sila naging illiterate? A study of looking ways to market products among millennials. Ano ba yun yung mga produkto na kagat or talagang naaakma sa millennials. Kaya yun ang reason kung bakit pinag-aaralan ang stages ng tao. Even sa negosyo man, pinag-aaralan yon. A study of searching ways of encouraging graduates to study college. Why is it necessarily to study in college? Diba? So for example, sabi ng gobyerno, pwede naman. Okay? Pwede naman pwede naman yung mga makagraduate ng senior high, pwede magtrabaho. But the competition is continuous. Diba? Iba pa rin yung what are the advantages and disadvantages? That is under the applied research. Makikipag-compete ka kasi. Okay? A study with providing solutions among trained dogs to stay in the yard. Hey, di ba yung mga dogs, pinag-aaralan nila, they using survey, okay, hindi natin alam kung paano nila, but that is under the applied research. Okay, applied research is to make a solution with a problem. So first, you have to identify the problem and make i-wide mo yung learning mo about the information, okay, using the how, why, and what, and then after that, formulate the hypothesis. This hypothesis, para ma-prove mo at yun ay makikita mo sa conclusion, you make a methodology or the procedure or the experiment. Okay, then you have to analyze it, then make a conclusion, which is akma ang inyong gagawin with the prediction or your hypothesis. Plus, ang paggawa ng data ay naka-based dun sa problema. You have to identify first the problem. Okay? Next, advantages of your applied research. It saves money in businesses through helping them make a better decision. So like for example, yun pala ay sa business ay mabenta pala yung kikiam. Ang binibenta mo ay siguro magbebenta ako dito ng ano tawag nito, ensaymada. Yun pala ay kikiam sa lugar na yun ay kikiam ang mabenta. So para ka nag-experiment, paulit-ulit mo siyang ginagawa. But in applied research, okay, you save time. Okay, nakikita mo na kasi kaagad. Kasi you are using questionnaire and surveys, creating new objectives. And then the third one is to create new products and services. You are producing a new products kasi it is based on your conclusion. Kung ang target mo is that your conclusion ay nakaakma dun sa inyong hypothesis, nakasolve ng problem, why not? Pero pwede kang gumawa ng new product or new analysis na hindi lang pala yun. Okay, kaya nga ang ating hypothesis, it is either null or void. Okay, difference between basic research and applied research according to purpose. Okay, so basic research focuses on knowledge advancement. Why? In your applied research, effort. So nag-effort ka talaga na makuhaan mo siya ng solution. Here is about the knowledge, self-initiated. These researchers help the client and it drives client desire. Which means na gumagawa, hindi ka lamang naka-focus sa sarili mo, but also, you are doing something na para ma-solve mo yung problema, not only about with yourself, but also with the help of others and with the help. Di ba nagsusurvey kayo? Di ba gumagamit kayo ng iba't ibang klaseng utak ng tao para ma-solve ang problema? And that is what we call the applied research. What is a scientific method? So when you say a scientific method, it is a step-by-step way to explain. Okay, isa-isa, dahan-dahan. Obtain and evaluate data. That is the reason why may steps dito ang scientific methods. So these are the problem or question, observation and research, formulate a hypothesis, experiment, collect and analyze the data, and then the conclusion. Ano yung problem or question? So here, when you say problem or question, develop a question or problem that can be solved through experimentation. So you have to identify first the problem. At yung problema na yan, isosolve nyo during your methodology. Diba gumagawa kayo ng procedure? Make sure na yung problem na yan nakafocus din sa inyong hypothesis. Kasi ang target nyo is to solve the problem. If there is a problem, there is a solution. Okay, so like for example, diba, nagkakaroon ka ng tagihawat. Okay, sa mukha, kailangan mo bigyan yan ng foundation with knowledge. Okay, so ang problem mo is, you're using something, bakit nagkakaroon ka pa rin ng tagihawat sa mukha mo? That's the problem. Then observation, your observation is that, dahil siguro hindi ka naghihilamos. Diba? Baka maalikabok ang nasa labas ng bahay. That's your observation. You are using your senses. And then pagkatapos, na-identify mo yung problem, make a hypothesis based on your observation. Okay, kaya nga siguro nagkakaroon siya ng tagihawat dahil hindi siya naghihilamos sa mukha. Pagdating doon, di ba, pagdating sa inyong experiment, dapat yun pa rin ang laman. And based on this example, here is that the problem or the question here is that many salamanders near a pond have curved, not straight tails. Ano daw yun? Yung kanyang problem is that mas marami, kasi dalawa ang klase ng buntot daw ng salamanders. Diba? Isang curve at saka isang straight. Kaya nga daw nagkakaroon ng curve ang salamanders. Parang siyang lizard, di ba? Nag-ano siya ng anyo. Di ba? Sila yun yung mga, pag nakadikit sila para to protect themselves from their prey, nakikigaya sila doon sa damit or sa suot ng dahon. They are called as salamanders. Okay? So, dalawa daw ang kanilang tails, which either curve and not half curve, not straight tails. So curve pa lang nakalagay doon. It is not about the curve or straight tails. But ang kanilang buntot ay naka-curve daw or hindi naka-straight. Okay? So ito yung mali ko doon sa aking explanation with the first. Okay, forming a hypothesis. Okay? So magpo-form ka muna ng hypothesis. Hypothesis is the first building block in scientific method. Diba? In order to make a solution to the problem, na-identify mo na yun na ang salamander ay meron silang curved tails sa ponds. Okay, doon sa ponds. Is that characteristics of forming hypothesis must be testable. Make sure na kaya mong i-test ang iyong hypothesis, predictions, and outcomes. So examples here, kung ang iyong problem is that the curved tail ng salamanders dahil doon sila nakapwesto sa ponds. Salamanders have curved tails due to, okay, a prediction mo is they have a curved tails because due to pollutant in the moist soil where they live. Because yung ponds na yun ay full of, the soil ay moist. Yun ang iyong hypothesis ha, ang cause ng pag-curved tails ng salamanders doon sa ponds, kung saan sila nakatira ay yung moist soil. Okay, you have to identify the cause. Experiment. So this is a procedure to test the hypothesis. So yung experiment na yan, yun ang gagawin mo para to justify your prediction. Prediction niya is that the pollution na ibinibigay, okay? The pollutants are the moist soil kung saan nakatira ang mga salamanders. Okay? So kailangan i-test mo yun because it needs to justify the hypothesis para maipaglalaban mo kung totoo ba talaga ang iyong hypothesis. Okay, in experiment is the factor that is being tested. So scientists use experiments to search for the cause and effect. So they will use scientific design to measure if the changes of an object cause vary in repeating experiments. So the things that happen in experiments are called the variables. What are the variables? Or ano yung cause? Okay, but nagkakaroon ng changes or nagkakaroon ng a good or a valid experiment will only have one variable. So, ano ba yung sinasabi niya? But with your laboratory one, wala naman akong, hindi ko naman pinahirapan. It is more on analysis. There are two types of variables. So, wala pa kayo doon sa independent variables and then your dependent variable. When you say independent variables, the independent or the manipulated variable is a factor that intentionally varied by the experiment. Okay, later may apply natin yan. Dependent variable is that. Responding variable is the factor that change and the result of changes. Kung ano yung cause. Naging dependent siya doon kaya nagkaroon ng changes. What is the control group in the experiment? So it is a scientific experiment that controls the group that serves as a standard of comparison. So the control group may be no treatment or an experimenter selected. So group meeting, controls are not being tested, and controls are used for comparison. I-apply natin ito para mas maintindihan siya ngayon. Okay, collect and analyze the results. Ano da yon? Identify the problem, make a hypothesis, justify through experiment, then collect the data. So kung meron ka ng data, you have to analyze it because the result of the experiment, ginagamit mo yung result ng experiment mo para to justify your hypothesis. In analyzing, the result may be either quantitative, which means numerical data, meron kayong mga numbers na ginagawa doon, or qualitative, quality, more on walang numerical data na ginamit. So ito na yun siya. Okay? Qualitative is that may be represented by the name, symbol, or a number code. So code lang ang ginagamit, mga symbols. Okay? Data about category. So wala pa akong nagamit na qualitative data. Okay? So mas malawak yung pag-unawa ko about the quantitative data. Ito yung gusto ko malaman. Okay, so how about when you say conclusion? So the answer of the hypothesis, okay, dito ka maka-formulate ng conclusion. That is the reason why, kung ano yung conclusion mo, class, kung ano yung conclusion mo, dapat naka-base yun sa hypothesis. Kadalasan kasi, ang nangyayari, parang hinahanap ko, saan na ba yun yung conclusion? Nag-conclude na sila, wala silang hypothesis. Your hypothesis, kaya nga nag-experiment ka eh. Kaya nga nag-gather ka ng data eh. Bakit? Kasi to prove your hypothesis. At doon mo makikita ang base mo o yung, like for example, diba, you are a teacher, magaling kang guro, pero ang pagiging isang guro, dapat may lisensya ka. Kahit gaano ka pa kagaling na guro, kung wala kang lisensya, hindi ka masasabing magaling na guro. So therefore, I conclude na magaling siyang guro dahil pumasa siya sa exam. Ganun yun ha. Okay. Sa amin, for example, di ka makatapos ng master's mo pag wala kang diploma. Hindi ka masasabi. So which means na kailangan ma-prove mo yun na yung iyong hypothesis ay talaga totoo. Okay? Okay, sample problem number 1. Let's say I have a problem. My car won't start. So ang car daw niya ay hindi nag-uumpisa. Okay, ano yung problem? Identify the problem. Ang problema is hindi makapag-start ang kanyang car. Alam niyo na kagad, hindi siya makastart kasi dalawa lang yung class, nasa isip niyo na yon. Okay, either walang gas o baka sira talaga ang sasakyan. So your hypothesis is, ano yon? If I put gas in the car, it will start. Your hypothesis is the cause kung bakit hindi siya nagsastart kasi walang gas. So yun yung hypothesis ha. Ang cause ng pag-stop, okay, cause and effect kasi class. Ang pag-cause ng pag-stop ng car is that walang gas. Materials. So ano yung materials na gagamitin natin? Okay, kailangan mo ng gas. Okay? Okay, kailangan mo ng lagayan ng gas. Ano pa ba? Kailangan mo ng pera. Hindi ka naman makabili ng gas kung wala kang pera. Lagayan ng gas kasi doon mo ilalagay ang gas. 'Di ba? Ang gas ay gagamitin mo sa gas station. Yan yung materials na kailangan mo para ma-prove ang iyong hypothesis. Kasi ang target mo is the gas. Sa gas station ka pupunta. Experiment. First, I will call my friend Bill and ask for a ride to the gas station. Siguro, kailangan niyang gamitin si Bill at tawagan niya, sige, dali mo ako dun sa gas station. Parang siya step by step. Yun yung procedure niyo. I will take the 5-gallon gas can. So, kukuha ko ng 5-gallon gas can, yung lagayan ng can ng gas, kasi doon ilalagay ang gas. After paying the gas station owner for the gasoline, okay, sasakayas ko sa sasakyan at ibalik doon sa hindi gumagana yung sasakyan, tapos lalagyan ng gas yung tank. Okay. Once the gasoline is in the tank, I will attempt to restart the car. So dahil nabigyan mo siya ng solution through experiment, ngayon, i-prove mo na kung totoo talaga ang problema is about the gas. So the results, the car started on the first try. So nung tinry niya dahil may gas na, kumilos ang sasakyan, tumunog. And then your conclusion is that dapat ito ay nagtutugma. When I put gas in the car, it started. I therefore conclude that the cause kung bakit nag-stop yung car is through the gas. Okay, dapat magkaano yan ha? If I put gas in my car, it will start. Your hypothesis. Pagdating sa conclusion, when I put dito, I will. Hindi mo pa nagawa. Gagawin mo pa lang. Pagtapos mo na yung results. Okay, your procedure, you have done already. You make a conclusion, but past tense na siya. Gawa na. Tapos na. Started. I will start and then started. Okay? Sample problem. So problem here, John wonders if the amount of sugar used in the recipe will affect the size of the bread loaf. Okay, let us first identify what is the problem. Wait lang, class. Okay, this is the problem. Si John daw, nagwa-wonder siya kung naka-apekto ang amount ng sugar sa pagluluto. Okay, naka-apekto siya sa size ng bread. Okay. So, ang hypothesis, after talking with his teacher and conducting further research, yung nag-interview na siya, okay, nag-gather siya ng information from authors, he comes up with a hypothesis. Okay. Siguro may nagsasabi, hindi, kasi ang sugar, hindi yan kasi ganito lang, ganito siya. Ang kanyang hypothesis, if more sugar is added, baka yun sa kanyang interview, nagsabi, oo, naka-apekto yon. Ang sugar kasi na content ay nakaka-apekto siya sa pag-alsa ng bread. Okay, it added, then the bread will rise higher. Okay, materials. So, ang gusto mo maapektuhan, kasi may yes dito. Kasi kung ako yung na-interview mo, it is not about the sugar. Okay, kailangan ko ng yes to prove it. Okay, pero ito lang kasi ang focus mo, if more sugar. So, sugar lang. Sugar lang talaga ang isosolve mo ang ingredient mo. So, dapat walang yes dito. Okay, kasi hindi ka mag-apply ng yes eh. You want to prove if this sugar ay kailangan ba para lamang sa pagpapaalsa without the presence of yeast. Okay, dapat ay sugar, water, oven, roller tray, gloves, hairnet, and apron. Independent variable. So, John is going to use 25 grams. Ano ba yun yung independent variable? Tingnan natin dito, class. Okay, wait. Wait, class. Okay. When you say independent variables, the independent or the manipulated variable is a factor that intentionally varied by the experiment. Kaya nga gumamit siya rito, class, ng iba't ibang grams of sugar. It's going to use 25 grams. Kasi i-prove niya kung talaga ba ang sugar ay nakakapagpaalsa, mas maraming sugar ang ilalagay niya, ay mas lalaki ang tinapay. Kaya ang varies ang kanyang ginamit na sugar level, amount of sugar. So 25 grams, 50 grams, 100 grams, 250 grams. So ito yung inyong independent variable. Nakadepend ang pag-alsa or paglaki ng bread sa content or amount of sugar na gagamitin. Control group. Because his grandmother always used 50 grams of sugar in a dependent variable, in this case, it would be the size of the loaf of bread. So, depende kung yung size daw yon ng loaf. Meron siya siguro gagamitin na, kasi ang main is about, ang experimentuan kasi is the bread. So, ang dependent is that kung ano yung experimentuhan, ang independent variable, ano yung gagamitin para to prove kung talagang ang problema is something. Control group, because his grandmother always used 50 grams of sugar in a recipe, John is going to use the amount in his control group. So, ang control group, dahil ito ang ginagamit, control came from the word control. Okay, dahil ang ginagamit ng kanyang nanay, ang kanyang lola ay 50 grams, nandun siya sa independent variables. Pero dahil gusto niyang i-prove na yung content na yon, na aside from kung gagamit ba ang lola niya ng more than sa 50 grams, mas lalaki ngayon ng size ng kanyang tinapay. So that is what you call the control group. Pero wala akong ginamit dito, independent variable, dependent on control group. Medyo magulo na siya. Okay. So, yun yung pagsabi niya dito. Okay? So, yun yung parang samples lang siya. Wala siyang application. But, the explanation of what's the difference between independent variable, dependent, and then the control group. Okay. Number 2 experiment. Chan writes out his procedure for her experiment along with the materials list in his journal. He has both of these checklist feature where she checks. Sorry class, I am Bisaya. For any safety concerns, Chan is going to test his sugar a variable 3 times. So, ang ginawa ni Chan daw ay mag-experiment siya ng 3 beses. Okay, results, Chan examines his data and notices that his control works the best in the experiment, but significantly better than one. But, ito yung experiment na ginawa pala with this problem. Okay, so ang ginawa ni Chan, ano na yun? Writes out his procedure for his experiment along with the materials. So, ginamit niya yung kanyang materials para sa kanyang experiment. Anong ginamit niya? Okay, binaris niya. Okay, tinestingan, sinubukan niya yung each sugar. Di ba? Merong 25, 50, 100, and 250 in 3 times. Tapos, the result, ano yung result? John examines his data and notices that his control works the best in experiment but not significantly better than 100 grams of sugar. So, yun yung result. Okay, ano ba yun yung sinasabi niyang control group? Dahil ang kanyang lola ay gumagamit ng 50 grams. So, mas maganda pala ang kinalalabasan ng experiment niya sa 100 grams na sugar. Conclusion, John rejects his hypothesis, but decides to retest using sugar amounts between 50 grams and 100 grams. Kasi ang 50 grams, ito yung nasa under ng control group. Ang lumabas dun sa kanyang result ay mas maganda pag 100 grams. Chan finds that 70 grams sugar produces the largest loaf. His hypothesis is accepted. Okay, yun ang kanyang experiment. Wala na tayong magagawa doon. Ni-reject niya yung hindi naman nababagay or hindi doon kailangan dun sa kanyang experiment. Ang 50 grams ay ginamit niya dahil ito ang ginagamit ng lola. Sa experiment naman yung lumabas, ang result is mas better daw yung 70, 100 grams. Tapos sinamayan niya ng 70 grams, which is between the 50 and then 100. Alam ko ginagamit nito sa inyong research sa site. Okay, sample problem. Chan watches his grandmother bake bread. Si John daw ay nanonood siya ng kanyang grandmother ay nagbi-bake ng bread. He asked his grandmother what makes the bread rise. Ano ba daw yung cause kung bakit nag-rise yung bread? So kung papansinin nyo, hindi nagamit yung yes dun sa experiment. So which means, tatanggalin ko tong yes na dun. He asked his grandmother what makes the bread rise. She explains that the yeast releases a gas as it feeds on sugar. So i-apply natin. What is the problem? Okay, the problem is that what makes the bread rise. Okay, the hypothesis. Kaya naaalsa or lumalaki kasi she explained that yeast releases. The hypothesis, the cause of arising the bread size is that the yeast. So yun yung hypothesis, no? The yeast will rise the bread. Okay, materials. Ano yung materials mo? Dapat nakikita mo din yun. Yung yeast, kasi yung iti-check mo. Sugar. Okay. Ano pa ba? Ang ginagamit dun, baking powder, so on and so forth, yung mga ingredients na ginagamit sa paggawa ng tinapay. Materials, nandiyan na, experiment. Okay, first is you have to wash your hands first. Then, okay, gagamitan mo siya, you put a baking powder together with so on and so forth. So, yun yung kanyang procedure. And then the results, kailangan samahan mo siya ng yeast. Okay, with the results is that, umalsa ngayon yung yeast. But here is that, explains that yeast releases a gas as it feeds on sugar. Yun, that is true. And you have, ano ba yung ibig sabihin nito? Ang yeast daw ay nagre-release ng gas para magpalaki through the presence of your sugar. So, ito yung feeds on sugar is that, pag gumagawa kasi ng, it is full of knowledge kasi class. Okay? Kaya kailangan nyo ng RRL, theories. Kasi ganito po yun kasi ang posisyon. Your yeast kasi is a fungi. Okay, ang yeast ay may bubuhay lang yan pag nilagyan mo siya ng warm water. Okay, lagyan mo siya ng warm water. But sa mga panidero, hindi sila gumagamit ng warm water. Water lang talaga. Okay? Tapos ang sugar, siya, ano ba ang function ng inyong sugar? As a source of energy. Siya yung nagbibigay ng lakas para umalsa ang yeast. But it needs a warm water para umalsa. It releases a gas kasi. That is the reason why ang mga panidero, hindi sila gumagamit ng warm water. Okay, tingnan nyo to. We are producing here. So, ito yung ginagamit nila para pagmasa, para mabuhay yung yeast. Pag once na mabuhay na yung yeast, the sugar is the one that gives energy to the yeast. Okay, so kaya ngayon ang reason kung bakit kailangan mo ng knowledge para i-sustain, para makapag-explain ng iyong results. So, yung results ng discussion, you have to discuss something. Malalaman nyo yan sa inyong mga experiment. How about when you say conclusion? So, when you say conclusion, kung ano yung hypothesis mo, ano ngayon, sabi niya, the yeast releases a gas, it feeds and make, the yeast will make a bread rise. Okay? So, ang conclusion, naglagay kayo doon based on your experiment, ang yeast talagang nagpapatunay kung bakit lumaki or nag-rise yung bread. Okay? And then your conclusion, nakita mo, lumaki nga talaga. Kasi ganun siya, class. Mamasahin mo yan siya, tapos mag-form ka ng dough. Tapos yung dough na yan, ipapasok mo siya sa isang plastic. Alam ko yung mga marunong mag-bake. Para umalsa. Makikita nyo, okay, pag makikita nyo, umalsa ngayon talaga yung bread, tapos ilagay nyo sa oven. Okay, at totoo talaga na ang yeast ay nagpapaalsa ng tinapay. Paano malalaman kung ang yeast ay nagpapaalsa? Ang gagamitin mo naman is that iba't ibang klase ng level ng yeast. Ang isa naman ay walang presence of yeast. Pinagawa ko to sa biochemistry sa aking mga estudyante. Medyo hindi lang, ang foundation ay medyo mabilis lang kasi. Okay, so that is the end of your module 1 discussion. Okay?